Welcome back to Our Life. Here's the tea. I totally corrupted an episode, and you missed a whole lot. And I apologize, but there was like no way for me to get it back. And we're so far along in this game that I really didn't want to start over and have to click through all my choices because, spoiler, I've actually done that quite a few times just so I could have episodes. And I'm just really tired of that. So we're just going to move on. So this guy moved in next door, and me and Cove were standing around waiting to see who is going to move in, and it's this guy. So he kind of looks like a skunk, not in a bad way. I'm sure he's a lovely guy, but he was like, yeah, I'm rich and like here's my stuff. So we're just gonna get into it, I suppose. He left a suitcase on the ground out of the way of the street and sauntered over your way with the confidence of someone who had been invited to join, which he has not. Also, this is what Cove looks like. I don't remember if you've seen that or not. Cove finally stood up to greet this person. You followed suit.
Excellent.
I'm Baxter Ward. It's excellent to meet you, my neighbors. Okay, rich little boy. You were standing on the side he was approaching from. When Baxter got close enough, he offered his hand to you first. I mean, I offered to low-five him, just to... Baxter made it work and twisted his hand to oblige your greeting of choice. Welcome to Sunset Bird, Baxter. I'm Jamie. Hey, Jamie. I'm quite keen on getting to know you better this summer. We could be good friends. From your other side, Cove made a sudden sputtering noise. And you are? He lifted his hand out to Cove next. Cove shook his hand, still eyeing Baxter carefully. I'm Cove. Baxter's whole demeanor lit up for unknown reasons. His eyes shone as he studied Cove a moment.
Really?
Now wait, is that a nickname or your real name? It's just my name. Cove spoke mildly, having given that explanation many times in the past, but it clearly charmed Baxter all the same. He tossed his head to one side with a laugh. Your parents knew exactly what they were doing. I can't imagine a more fitting name for the face I'm seeing. Cove, that's gorgeous. Don't flirt with my man. Leave him alone. It's really not. Hey, only I get to fluster him? That's a strange thing. No, I agree. It suits you. Nice to see someone else knows. The impact might have faded for you, living with it this long, but I promise to the onlooker it's a knockout. Cove couldn't face either of you after that. His cheeks were quickly turning brighter red with embarrassment. You noticed that Baxter looked apologetic over Cove's increased discomfort. I'm sorry. It wasn't intended to mean more than it did. I like your name, but you don't have to mind that. I'm patently against stepping on anyone's toes. Oh, I thought this guy was going to be a rival, but he seems nice so far. So, okay. He chuckled to himself. It seems like there was some extra meaning hidden there in his words, and you noticed that Cove raised an eyebrow, picking up on that too. Baxter didn't even open his eyes to see your faces to know he had some filling to do. He stood up straighter, striking a slight pose with the position of his feet. I'm a ballroom dancer, hence the phrasing. Oh, I don't know much about dancing, but that's pretty cool. It's not hard once you get the basics down. Cove didn't look convinced at all. Baxter took that as a cue to keep talking.
Wow.
Well, he grinned in a way that was rapidly becoming familiar to you. If either of you are ever looking for a partner, I'm available. No thanks. Cove peeked at you, smiling softly. You felt his familiar touch as he squeezed your hand for a moment. I already have a partner. Jamie's the only one I want to dance with. Sorry, she's my girlfriend. Oh my gosh! I'm blushing. Thanks, Cove. You're both together? Yeah, we are. Now that's crushing, but makes sense. I got here too late. Should have taken a semester off sooner.
I get it.
That's a joke. Really. I didn't mean to intrude on anything you have with the offer. Oh. I'm not going to answer the question. I mean, I'm not going to be like, I will dance with you, or I won't dance with you, or I'd only dance with Cove, because, like, I don't know, if we can become friends to the point where it doesn't feel like a jealous move, I would love to learn to dance. So, Baxter nodded understandingly and let the subject go. After that, there was a lull in conversation, and Cove attempted to fill it. What made you decide on Sunset Bird? Oh, yes, well, my parents rented a condo, so I had a place to stay while I'm off for a semester from college and not living in the dorms. There was a playful glint in Baxter's eyes as he continued. Ideally, they'd wanted to send me somewhere that wasn't too exciting, but lucky for me, they picked the wrong street, considering the two of you live here. Baxter then preemptively lifted his hands up in front of his chest, giving the gesture for meaning no harm. It's nice not to be the only one around my age in the neighborhood for an entire summer. Nothing more. Methinks thou dost protest too much. That was a story you had heard before. The same one was when Lonely Cove and his dad moved in all those years ago. Cove wasn't relating, still. You could have phrased it like that in the first place. I don't feel the need to keep words of praise to myself, but they're not romantic come-ons. I see that you two are very much a committed pair. I'd like to be friends if we can, but that's all. It's okay. I'm finding it pretty entertaining. You probably annoy a lot of people. You probably annoy... Can I say that? Is that mean? You probably annoy a lot of people. His confidence remained rock solid despite the jab. I haven't had that experience yet, but anything is theoretically possible. Shifting his weight to his other foot, Baxter tried to move forward. So, which condo is yours? How long have you been living together? Oh, no. Cove sputtered again, and unintentionally a laugh escaped you. We're both your neighbors, but we live in different houses with our parents. As if second nature, the two of you pointed to your homes, the buildings directly across the street from each other. Baxter's eyebrows raised at that. Your neighbors who started dating? What a couple of lovebirds. You're the backbone of romantic society. Honestly, I hope you never break up. If you can make it work, there might be a chance for the rest of us. You knew Cove well enough to tell there was a little bit of amusement in his expression, but he sighed in exasperation. After that, you had no doubts about his claims of being complimentary. You shook your head at it. Too much again? Kind of. Well, if either of you are free, I'd be thrilled to hang out this summer, but we can save the schedule talk for later. I should get my things inside. He gave a small nod of the head and flashed you both a dazzling smile. Goodbye for today. Bye. Cove gave a small wave as well. Bye. Baxter then turned on his heels and strolled back into his suitcase, picking it up and bringing it to his condo. You and Cove were silent as Baxter unlocked the door and disappeared inside the house. With him completely out of the scene, Cove let out a long breath.
Well,
I don't know how I'm going to explain that guy to my dad. You burst into a fit of laughter, trying to imagine the conversation. At least the job is done. We saw the new neighbor, and now we can go meet up with Terry and Miranda. Yeah, we should get going. You gave Baxter's condo one last glance over your shoulder. He's interesting, but I don't really, you can't judge someone just by your first encounter, so I don't know. Honestly, you didn't know if you would ever come to a conclusion about him. Baxter was just so different. Turning your attention back to Cove, you pushed all thoughts of Baxter aside. You both started making your way towards town. He was interesting. I'll take his arm, because my hands, I hate when my hands get, sweaty, and when you hold hands with people, sometimes their hands are really sweaty, so I'll just hold his arm. Smiling at him, you hooked your arm around his. Cove hummed happily in response. A little while later, you and Cove reached a main street in town. All of a sudden, you stopped walking. What's wrong? I think I felt my phone vibrate. You dug your cell phone out and looked at it with a satisfied grin. There was a new message. You opened the text from Miranda, and all you saw was, I can see you. Immediately from where you stood, you started swiveling your head around. You couldn't spot Miranda anywhere, but she did send you more messages. I saw you holding Cove's arm. Scandalous. Where are you? Oh, I get to pick? Where are you? The message was sent, and you were back to looking around, scanning for any sign of movement and familiar faces, but they were still invisible. Cove looked at you carefully, raising an eyebrow. I'm gonna grab onto Cove again, wanting to show Miranda how scandalous you can be. At once, you hooked your arms around his neck, still holding your phone, and brought him even closer to you. He blushed and gave you a look mixed with amusement and confusion. Seriously, Jimmy? What did that message even say? Before you could even begin to explain anything to Cove, you both snapped your attention to the yelling from across the street. And there you saw Miranda and Terry coming out from behind the backside wall of the grocery store. They both started waving wildly and to draw even more attention to themselves. Oh. With their grand entrance made, Cove became even more embarrassed about the position you were in and gently removed your hands from him. Cove took a step in their direction, grinning. He put his hands around his mouth to better project his message across the street. Hey! Laughing and arm in arm, the girls stopped only to look both ways and then rushed across the empty street. Hi. Oh my gosh, she's so pretty! I love her. She's beautiful. Hi! I hope you weren't waiting too long.
Hey, buddies.
Oh my gosh, so is she! Why are they both so cute? Hey, buddies. Hi. Hey, I'm so happy to see you two. Now that they were here, their joke on you was already long forgotten in your mind. Terry and Miranda giggled, smiling wildly at your decoration. Terry then closed the distance between her and Cove and crushed him in a painfully tight hug. You're finally here. It's been so long. What took you? He did his best to eke out a reply with his chest being compressed. Sorry. Eventually, she did let him go. Terry looked at him with a beaming smile, but Cove was distracted, rubbing his arms. Standing there, Miranda shifted her weight to her other hip. She watched Cove patiently with a bashful smile. Welcome back. Thanks. It finally felt official. Everyone was together in one place. From here, you weren't sure how often you would have another afternoon like this again. They didn't either. Cove. Terry poked Cove square in the chest. You're gonna have to get me your schedule by this time yesterday. Not really possible, Terry, but I can say as soon as I know. So far, work hasn't said anything, but I can tell you I'm busy with Orca activities. When Cove wasn't at his part-time job or pursuing his academic interests, he volunteered for the Ocean Restoration California affiliation, Orca. Oh. The group focused on cleaning up beaches and removing pollution from the ocean. Cove always loved the sea. Didn't surprise you one bit he started getting involved with them. That's so awesome. Yes, of course. I'm gonna join too. Their big smash event for the year is coming up, right, isn't it? Yeah, there's not that much more to do before then, but I'm kind of looking forward to the fundraising push. Hopefully we can pull it off. If anyone can do it, it's you two. And even if it goes really bad, it'll still look good on a college application at least. That's true. Hey, guess what else? We don't have to stand here to say stuff. Let's go. I would like a meal now. Perking up, Cove nodded in agreement. Yeah, I'm hungry. Time to head out. The four of you headed into town, happily chatting the whole way. The only decision left to make was where exactly you stopped to eat. The rest of the afternoon and evening passed by in the blink of an eye. When night fell, it was time to head home, and you parted ways with Miranda and Terry. You and Cove reached your neighborhood without event. It was late enough that your out-of-the-way street was dark and silent. Probably walking tiredly. You yawned, stretching your arms high over your head. It was taking a lot of mental focus to keep up and walk alongside Cove. As you did so, you peered at his face out of the corner of your eyes. You wondered why he felt so distant to you. It was out of character. For a while, Cove silently stared ahead, and you left you alone with your thoughts. It surprised you when you did hear his voice all of a sudden. He still wouldn't look at you. It feels weird coming back to the neighborhood and trying to get into things like they're the same. And they're not. They've changed. They're still changing. Your mouth felt uncomfortably dry all of a sudden. It was true that things that kept the people you knew together were starting to disappear. Each person had to make their own priorities and their own path now that it wasn't set for them. You thought about your own immediate future. If you had to choose in this very moment, you wanted to go to school part-time, to work full-time, to work part-time, to focus on time that's not school or work. Probably, I go to school full-time, but I think I would like to go to school part-time and work part-time, but that's just not what I'm doing right now because I'm trying to complete all of school really quickly. That way I don't have as much debt, if that makes sense, because whether or not I do it all now or stretch it out, like, depending on how many classes I take, if I take the full 4 years, that's still like the same amount. If I take 5 classes every single semester, or if I take 2, it still costs the same amount. So I'm trying to get all my classes done in a short amount of time. So school part-time and to work part-time. And that's the basics. For your career, you thought you'd find a company to work at, work online. Work online, I would love to do that. I also have kind of my own business. I'll say that because I have a Party Princess business. That's okay. It's always linked down in my description, so if you need a party princess. And that was all. For your education, you thought you'd attend a public university and take online classes, because technically that's what I'm doing. And for that, you wanted to stay local, probably. It'll all be happening so soon. I've probably applied to schools. Yeah, I've probably just spoken to people I'm close to, like Cove. Now you wondered what Cove had in mind. You'd heard him consider some things for the future, but it was never anything that would have counted as a real plan. Making it back home, you both stopped in the middle of the street. Cove sighed. Cove looked at the ground for a moment. His mouth trembled, trying to settle on the right words to say. So, are you still thinking about working and stuff in Sunset Bird? Yeah, you remembered. Cove closed his eyes and nodded while he composed his thoughts. He looked at you when he lifted his head. I decided on something. Oh well, kind of. He smiled slightly and rubbed his arm, and then his expression grew more serious. I'm not going to decide on a school or a career, not this summer. I'm going to stay here, at least in Sunset Bird. I'll probably move out of my dad's place. I'll keep working my job, keep doing my volunteer stuff and everything else. Maybe I'll know what I want for myself by fall, or next year, or maybe I'll never have a plan. Life will continue on with whatever's happening. I'm not going to crush myself trying to have everything figured out by a timeline that someone else has set. I just can't do it. His brows furrowed and his tone was tense. It was clear how much expectations were weighing on him. I guess it'll be me and you, right here for a while longer. His eyes were glossy. You weren't going to be separated, and that meant a very great deal to him. Your plan sounds very you, understandingly. Somehow, I'm not surprised things turned out like this. Cove laughed. All the tension and thoughts that had been weighing on him seemed to momentarily melt away. I'll see you tomorrow, Jamie. I'm already looking forward to it. Night. He pulled you into an unexpected hug. It knocked the breath out of you, yet couldn't have been a more reassuring feeling. You returned his embrace and stayed that way for as long as you could.
Good night.
Night. He finally let you go, giving you another smile. Then Cove started walking away, but you remained there, frozen in the middle of the street. You watched him and wondered, how many more times will he be able to say that he'll see you tomorrow? You hoped for countless more times. Finally, you turned toward your own house. You vowed to yourself that you would make the most out of every moment you had this summer. That was wonderful. Oh my gosh. Hang, Aaron's Talks, Charity Drive. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Okay, that was really fun. I hope you enjoyed. I'm really sorry that you missed out on part of the story. I hope it didn't bother you too much and you were able to catch up pretty quickly. But yeah, we have 2 new friends, Terry and Miranda. They seem really cool. We met Baxter, the little weirdo. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you have a good day, good week, good year, good life, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.